Shwmai, I'm Adam and I've teamed up with the Growing the Futures project, and today I'd like to share some of the tools that you need in your garden to get started. So let's go and have a look in the shed. So welcome to the shed, and I must admit I do spend quite a lot of time in the shed, and I have got a bit of an obsession with buying too many tools. But these are the 5 main tools that I think are important for you to get started. So first of all, we've got the trowel, which is handy for planting plants. Then we've got the watering can, which is handy for watering the plants. Thirdly, we've got the pruning scissors, which is very important for cutting plants clean, and especially pruning at the end of the year. And then we've also got a rake and a hoe. Now the rake is used for spreading soil evenly around the garden, and the hoe is instrumental in weeding. So let's go and use the tools in the garden. So here's the trowel. Now using a trowel is simple. The most important thing to remember is to put slight pressure on the front of the trowel as you're creating your hole. But make sure you're holding it comfortably as well. You can also use the trowel then to refill that hole and break up any small lumps. The pruning shears are also simple to use, as you can see here. Hold the pruning shears close against the plant or the flower stem you are cutting and try to make a 45-degree angle to ensure a clean cut. Next, we have the watering can. Now, I'm sure many of you would have already used your watering can, but one important thing to remember is not to fill your watering can with too much water or carry unnecessary weight. I find that half a watering can is far easier to control than a full can. Also remember, whilst watering your plants, to water them evenly as well. The garden rake is one of my favourite garden tools, but there are a few things to remember when using the rake. One of them is not to carry too much soil as you rake. This will help you evenly distribute the soil across the surface. Another thing to remember as well is to let the rake do the hard work for you and not put too much pressure on the handle while raking the soil. And lastly, let's use the garden hoe. This is brilliant to help you weed around the garden. As you can see here, it's the back blade of the hoe that does most of the work. To use the hoe, pull it lightly towards you over the weeds in order to cut them away. A good tip is to do this on a sunny day, allowing the weeds to wither and dry. Well, it's just started picking with rain, so I thought I'd just pop into the greenhouse because I wanted to add, if you don't have the tools to hand, don't worry, because there are some items you can use around the house as well. For example, you could use a fork to weed the garden. You could also use a spoon to plant some of your flowers or plants. You could also use a pair of scissors as well as a pruning scissors. Or, as we discussed in our video last week, a makeshift watering can be made out of an old bottle around the house. So I hope that's given you an idea of some of the tools we can use around the garden. Please join me again next week, where I'll be transplanting the seedlings we planted last week. Hwyl am y tro.